Growing the Future podcast is brought to you by Eberhard Ag Solutions. Join us as we talk to top entrepreneurs in the agricultural space about their methods of obtaining success in their endeavors. And now, your host, Dan Eberhard.
It's like an old John Deere movie where you like unplug the monitor and then plug it back in.
Hope it works.
So I used to sell John Deere sprayers, and sometimes you seem pretty smart, but you just did the most awkward things to fix it. So we always had like a running joke when people had an issue with their monitor. We'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, you got to do like a cold reboot," which is essentially you got to unplug the GSD 2600 and stop the machine and recycle it so the ECU would reset and everything, and then plug it back in after all the little computers underneath your feet would get going. Then you plug your monitor back in and be like, "Yeah, it worked." And then you're actually, for a small moment in life, you appeared to be intelligent and have some useful skills.
And you really just unplugged it and turned it back on and off.
Dean Klippenstine, I'm really excited. The first time I met you was in the AgVisor Pro Peer Garden, and we had an exceedingly intelligent conversation at that particular moment at Ag in Motion. But I'd heard a lot about you prior to that, and I guess you've been talking to my brother a little bit about various things.
Yeah, Ag in Western Canada is a pretty small world.
Isn't it? It's small fishbowl.
You run
Can't
into
get away
a
with
lot of
nothing.
people. Run into a lot of people, a lot of friends.
Yeah.
In the industry, so I've known Terry and the family for quite some time.
Why are you a name in accounting? And this is what I found weird too. Like, who's besides Jonathan Small, who we just interviewed, like, who's the celebrity in Christian Hebert? Who's the celebrity in accounting? I mean, how do you get to be? Because we think of accountants as sort of high follow through, introverted people buried in piles of paperwork. Sometimes they get grouchy around year end and stuff like that. God bless them.
Grouchier.
Well, and then try to put like an entrepreneur together with an accountant type, and it's just like cats and dogs living together. But you seem to have like this element of like coolness. Tell me about that and what you do and what's your.
Well, there's nothing cool in my job, trust me. But I've been a fan of agriculture and eat, sleep, breathe it for my entire life. I grew up on a farm south of Regina and always had an acumen for the business side of it. And so running into characters like Jonathan in my past have really elevated our understanding at a really simple level about marrying all the information that comes out of farm between the business, the science, and then just the day-to-day operations. And so I farmed actively until 2006.
Okay.
On our own farm.
That's an awesome foundation.
And saw when agriculture wasn't as sexy as it is today.
Right.
And so
because it has become sexy.
That experience and grounding is in some cases held us back, but it's a good foundation to know that stuff isn't always this rosy. And so that's why I'm interested in companies like yours as far as building our foundation of the land for we need to take our perspective in agriculture and look at it instead of 5 and 10 year and 2 year windows. Mm-hmm. If you go back to some of the people who have dealt with land in Europe and Asia had owned in the family for hundreds of years, mm-hmm. That's where I'm excited about learning, trying to get a little bit of information on things like AgSmart and your company and the science behind your operation to try to build that so you get treatment of this legacy asset, the value it deserves. Treating the legacy asset like it deserves to be treated, whether I own it or just farm it.
A couple of really cool themes there. You're talking about sustainability in Rob's keynote this morning, Rob Sake's keynote. And what is sustainability? I mean, a farm or a business that survives for hundreds of years, that's definitely a form of sustainability study. But the question that I have for you based on your initial comments here is, you talk about marrying a whole bunch of things. And it seems to me like you have a little bit of an integrator role.
Well, in exchange for knowledge and skills, mm-hmm. I really just try to put good people together, and that's why the team at MNP for the more senior ag people are here today, trying to learn where we fit in that space. And when you talk about Rob's, again, I don't have a science background, I have a business background. And so all the science stuff that you guys talk about is way over my head. But when Rob talked about infinite sustainability, that really is the power.
Yeah.
And for us to think that we've done all our learning and we've got it all figured out is arrogant. We do not. We're still learning an enormous amount of information. And I remember driving on fields that were we had a rented half section that was on the mile. And there was a 6-foot below dirt ridge where the fence lines used to be. So you talk about sustainability. That's gonna be there unless someone moves it, thousands of years. And that was not sustainable, and it was not good, productive improvements to the land. And our family didn't own that land, we just rented it. But it really does make you think about that in a longer term perspective. And so there's no one person who has all the answers, but you talked about the integrator role. That's where I see not just MNP, but companies like MNP trying to bring all this information that's with the advent of computers and sensors. There's so much information available to us. We still need to bring it into manageable, usable, bite-sized amounts to make informed decisions with.
So how are you gonna close that gap, Dean?
That's what we're gonna figure out today. And so I'll have a solution.
That's why we're at Expert.
I'll have a solution for you by the afternoon. We'll have a couple cold
You
beers.
mean 9 o'clock tonight?
Yeah. So
10
no,
o'clock tonight.
it's a daunting task and it changes and evolves constantly. But we're really trying to dig in our heels. We have one of the big bases of agriculture in Western Canada, if not North America, in M&P, and we're still just scratching the surface. But what we know, we're trying to figure out where our vision gets us to help bring infinitely sustainable agriculture, to quote Rob Syke.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard that term a whole lot before, but I think it's something that we should be looking at, because look at all these different areas, these different pillars in agriculture, for example, soil health, we're at the point where we're maintaining and growing that.
Well, and again, Dan, you know way more about that than I do in your product. I've talked to friends of mine who are agronomists who understand and love your product and know that it's a long-term investment in the soil. I was just at the show, just at one of the sessions at Crop Pro Consulting.
Absolutely. We're gonna talk to Wes.
Talked about still the same basic fundamental of science, but on a really microscopic level rather than a whole field or a section or a 1,200 acre field.
Yeah.
Applying nutrients like the products that you and your company work with on a microscopic scale when compared to how we used to apply them.
That's interesting, because I feel like there's areas of agriculture that the more that we look at them, the more we're going to realize we don't know. And there's going to be so many eureka moments. I'm a big fan of cosmology, anthropology, and history and stuff like that. And the more that we learn, the more that our understanding gets shaken. Is there any parallels in the financial world, or is it just boring and dry? You basically need to drink, to assuage them. That's the time.
But the financial really just measures what you folks are doing in the soil.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've talked.
It does show up in the soil, or in the financials.
Financial.
What happens in the soil does show up in the financials, right?
The struggle that we're gonna, absolutely. And so the struggle that we're gonna have as business is we need to extend our horizons past 1 year. Right?
Yeah.
Right now, we base everything on the profitability of that annualized financial statements. Whereas when you start thinking about soil in a 200-year perspective, trying to measure the long-term profitability.
How do you do that?
It's
Put a chart up
task.
of like Neanderthals when we started like the agricultural age, to try and get perspective, or how do you do that?
It's a daunting task.
Yeah.
But if you took a 200-year profile of that half section I talked about on the mile, where there's a 6-foot below dirt ridges or disca ridges you can feel every time you drive across, you have quite a negative view of that soil management plan, that land management plan. And so one of our struggles at M&P and other good financial advisors out there is trying to make sure we're profitable. Rob talked about it today earlier at the keynote address, that we have to be profitable in the short term. We also need to be balancing that with a long-term investment. one of the things you and I talked about at Ag in Motion was if you're a landlord and I'm managing that asset for you as a renter, we need to have a long-term view of that relationship, and
Absolutely.
it's embarrassingly short-term today in today's agriculture in Western Canada.
I have a lot of guys who don't even want to have that conversation. I saw it as a huge opportunity to say, hey, I'm investing in the fertility of property that you own so I can be profitable, so that your soil can be healthy.
A friend of mine
Doesn't always go that way.
in Germany, who used to farm in Germany,
Yeah.
said they used to have nutrient measures. No, were they super precise or exact? No, but they were a good approximation to good behavior, to motivate good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And they would measure the nutrient profile in the soil at the start of the rental agreement
Absolutely.
and at the end of the rental agreement to encourage at a minimum. In my perfect world, it's 50-year rental agreements, but I know we're not gonna get there.
Why can't we bake that into cars?
But so that's where I absolutely believe that's gonna be the case. As GARS evolves and as GARS manages this profile. I was a consultant on behalf of MNP for Global Ag Risk from its inception to now still a lot, but not near as much as originally. In no uncertain terms, these concepts are gonna get brought in, especially as the information and data becomes more readily available. So that it's not only management teams, but it's the soil profile and how it's been managed historically. All those are gonna weigh into the confidence of the growers and their partners growing crops forward in that land. And so it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I find when I get to these shows is you come out and your head's spinning because the opportunities are enormous. And
It's overwhelming. And where are we gonna be in 200 years? I mean, you and me will be having a beer in the beer gardens for AgVisor Pro or whatever the hell Rob Six could come up with next. Talking about longevity, but 200 years is hard to fathom right now. Whereas maybe in the old country, they just say, oh, it'll be another 200 years of this, honey, same old.
Yeah, well, in 200 years from now, we'll probably look like Jonathan Small.
Wow, I can't wait. Two things. One is the weather. We kind of worry about the weather getting all erratic, and we have these, movie style narrative voices going over the palm trees getting bent over and the floods and ice ages, whatever, right? Fear mongering. But I kind of choose to look at it from rose colored lenses point of view, where it's like, think about this big ball of rock we're flying through space on. And we're orbiting the sun on the edge of a relatively unspecial, I don't know what the word is, but not that big of a deal of a galaxy amongst galaxies in the universe. And there's radiation, there's quasars, and there's black holes, and there's solar winds, but we got this thin blue band of God-given goodness protecting us from all the asteroids and the radiation and everything else. And we're damn lucky that there's so many places on Earth that on an average day you could take all your clothes off, get buck naked, go in a waterfall. It's not that bad. And I look at soil the same way, but we can abuse that in such a way that it goes away. We don't have soil. I think it's the same thing with the atmosphere. But we're getting so much more sophisticated. We've come so far. I personally wonder if you look at the trend lines. I think we're gonna make it. I think we got more than 10 years. But we have somebody in the States who's running on the platform for president saying we only got 10 years to shut down the coal. What does MNP have to say about that?
Well, I think MNP will stay silent on that. But
right answer.
That's the
Good
correct
subtitle disclaimer, MNP.
All opinions of mine.
Okay, back to business here, guys. That's enough. Bottom line is, it's the same question, but just kind of a joiner. Who are kind of your clientele, and where do you take them from when they start with you? Like my brother, for example. Who are the kind of people you work with, and then what is the journey that you take them on? Do you have an example?
Well, we just help farms go through. We do traditional financial information, but then try to marry in additional stuff that people not specialized in agriculture wouldn't necessarily be able to bring in.
Yeah. Unique ability.
Unique. We get more experience.
Yeah.
And really, it's just helping grow businesses through their different life cycles.
Yeah.
right? Where we help them in periods of transition. We help them at all times, but more significantly in periods of transition.
Yeah.
Bringing in siblings, bringing in kids, buying out mom and dad, someone passes away, bringing in a junior partner, selling business. There's just a myriad of major life events that we help coach and guide them through for whatever they view as success. I used to think success was money. Yeah, and about 20 years ago, a client of mine said, well, Dean, I have lots of money.
Yeah.
I just want this to be smooth and easy. And I never thought about it. And I thought about that and I said,
That's priceless.
yeah, absolutely. So it's helping them achieve their goals, whatever it is that is, whatever those goals are. Now, in MNP, we have the luxury of doing so much agriculture. I believe every business deserves a specialist. If you had a Ford dealership, I think you should have the luxury of having an accountant who did 75 Ford dealerships.
Right.
So they get to learn and understand your business and have experience. In most places, there's not the luxury of that many businesses of that type. But that's really we're trying to bring the franchise model to agriculture. So that if you and I owned a Ford dealership and you had one in Seattle and I had one in Florida, and you said the most you can do is 7 oil changes in an hour. And I said, well, we got a couple young kids who've tweaked our process and they're doing 11. That's not for me to say that to make you feel bad. It's for you to go, man, that's powerful. Boy, would that change our dynamic and change our business. I want to understand, and to quote Jonathan, he always taught me this, the art of the possible. It's the art of the possible.
Kind of came back from that earlier comment.
So you don't go into that process thinking, oh, I'm going to go yell at my guys because they're doing a bad job. I'm going to go see what other good businesses are doing. And agriculture doesn't have the luxury of the franchise model where they can sit down and compare in peer groups. Now, there's some peer groups popping up around, but it's still difficult. Logistic challenge. Yeah, there's some, but they're still only at their infancy. What MNP tries to do is have experts who have lots of experience seeing lots of different farm operations and try to take that information and knowledge and frankly, the mistakes we've made and improve and change and help them not be made again.
Why did the Liberals screw up the trusts? They were good.
Oh, I don't think we have enough time on this podcast to critique the Liberal tax strategy.
They were
Just came from left.
They were good. I just got a trust at like 40-some years old. The bastards were like, no, actually, that's not gonna be that good. And now I got an annual bill and hopefully it, I was gonna go straight to the Cayman Islands, but.
You're stuck in agriculture in Western Canada.
In the dirt! Love it! That was awesome, man.
Thanks, buddy.
I love the wisdom. You're a big star in the